Participants, exploring the ongoing power struggles between organized crime and law enforcement from the mob's origination to today. Located at 300 Stewart and 4th Street, themobmuseum.org. Let's have a
those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Oh, yeah. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Welcome, PTL Nation. We got a big show lined up for you today. The likely opponent to Tom Cotton in Arkansas. I think Tom Cotton is like one of the worst human beings imaginable. Her name is Haley Schoffner. She's going to be joining us here in just a couple minutes. He is just the worst. So it'll be a pleasure to speak with her. Of course, we got Leonard Cardinale that's going to be joining me in studio today. And boy, do we have a lot to get to. First of all, you have the police chief out there in Minneapolis that's saying that some of his own police officers that are off duty, that are brown, are getting pulled over by ICE and being asked for their paperwork and if they're legal or not, which is completely against the law. So we're going to certainly break that down with Leonard coming up a little bit later on the show. Did you see this press conference that Donald Trump held earlier today where he confused Iceland with Greenland? He did it multiple times in this press conference. And then when Caroline Leavitt was asked about it, her response was, no, he didn't. He had written remarks referring to Greenland as a piece of ice. By the way, he didn't say piece of ice. He said Iceland over and over and over again. But, they deny. And unfortunately, this is where we're at right now within the Trump administration, where it seems like they just embarrass us over and over and over again. And it's sickening. And I'm really getting sick and tired of what's transpiring here. And, before we get to our next guest here, I look at January 6th and I look at the shooting of Ashley Babbitt. And listen, I've been very consistent with Ashley Babbitt. She was a lunatic and a deranged individual, and I believed she deserved what she got. Now, that doesn't mean that I wanted it to happen. Of course I didn't. But everybody on the right seemed to say over and over again, there needs to be an independent investigation, And by the way, there was an internal investigation that lasted weeks, and they found that that officer-involved shooting was justified. But when it comes to Renee Good, and when it comes to that situation, oh no. Nothing to see here, folks. We don't need ballistics. We don't need an autopsy. We don't need anything. Let's make Jonathan Ross a millionaire, and they have. Ashley Babbitt's family were given $5 million. So the hypocrisy on the right, at least to me, is astounding. It's sickening. It's gross. But again, this is par for the course for the Trump administration. This is par for the course from what we've seen from the Trump administration. And, I'm pretty much at an end here. And as I've said over and over again, and I say again, if ICE want to terrorize our communities and if ICE want to go in, ask people for identification because of the color of their skin or their accent, And if ICE want to go in and not use warrants and barge down doors, then something needs to be done about this, and it needs to happen now because, MAGA Republicans always say, we're losing our country. We need to take our country back. Well, guess what? Now I actually say that, and I'm meaning it. We are losing our country. We are losing our freedoms. We could be talking about our First Amendment rights. We could be talking about our Fourth Amendment rights. We are losing the freedoms that we have. And now Donald Trump is, threatening possible military action to take over other countries, kidnapping presidents in other countries. Where we're at right now as a country, it's scary. It's sickening. It's sad. And quite frankly, I don't know where we go from here. Please peacefully protest. I want everybody out there to be safe. I want everybody out there to please be careful. I don't trust any of these ICE agents. I don't trust anything in our government. I certainly don't trust anybody in the Trump administration, and I don't believe anything that they say or do. So joining me right now in studio, co-hosting with me, is a man by the name of the Leonard Cardinal. He is, of course, a long time, 20-year police veteran. Leonard, how's it going?
How's it going, Brian? A lot to go over today. Some crazy stuff going on out there.
Yeah, I wanted to intro you and just let everybody know at the beginning of the show that you're always very nice. You wait patiently, which I definitely appreciate. But I want to get to my first guest. But before I get to my first guest, thank you for being here. There's a lot that we're going to go over with you today, Leonard, including obviously what I would consider ICE brutality, not police brutality, ICE brutality, and what is going on in Minneapolis. So I certainly will get back to you, Leonard, in a few. And
okay, great.
I certainly appreciate you being here. There's certainly a lot to talk about and a lot to get to. How I believe that our rights are being taken away from us.
And of course, later on, we'll be taking calls.
Yes, we will.
And we'll be reading super chats.
Yeah, so we will. And I appreciate you being here, Leonard. But, the lovely lady that we have with us right now, I got to be honest with you. I don't have anything nice to say about Tom Cotton. I think he's a despicable human being. I believe he's racist. And the lady who is trying to take his U.S. Senate seat, which I certainly would love to see, is joining us right now. Her name is Haley Schoffner. She is a sixth-generation farmer and a small business owner running for U.S. Senate to fight for working families. And she joins us right now on the show. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's Hallie, like Halle Berry.
Yes, got it. Haley Schoffner. Thank you yes. for that. I hate to start this conversation with a negative because I do want to talk about you, your life as a farmer, and I do want to get to that. But, the person that you are hoping to run against is Tom Cotton. This is a guy who said slavery was a necessary evil. Yes, this is a guy who has not only validated these boat strikes and defended Pete Hegseth, but said they were validated because they were not incapacitated. And I don't know if this guy is just dumb or racist or both. What do you make of this guy, Tom Cotton, and all the ridiculous statements he's made over the years?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. He's the worst. I mean, he's one of the most unpopular politicians in D.C. I mean, he's probably one of the top 5 most unpopular senators in D.C. He's also, according to polling in Arkansas, the most unpopular Republican in Arkansas right now. He's only polling at a 47% approval rating in a state that Trump won by over 80 percentage points.
How do these people get elected into office? I mean, listen, I asked that question a lot. I still don't know how Donald Trump ever got elected to begin with. That's another story. But how do these people like the Gymnasium Jordans of the world and others continue to get reelected in the Tom Cottons of the world? Like, I just don't understand it at all.
It's really simple for Arkansas. It's not that we're a red state. We're a non-voting state. So we have the lowest voter turnout of any state in the country. One of the things that we're focused on in my campaign is specifically how do you get out the vote in more significant ways, particularly amongst the 2 smallest voting blocks, which is millennials and Gen Z. So we do focus a lot on what is it that younger people care about. I mean, we talk about affordability, right, as a political tactic for Democrats running anywhere in the United States right now. And that's totally true for Arkansas, too.
Mm-hmm. You come from a farming background, of course. It's your way of life. Can you please explain to us what the Donald Trump administration has done as far as the damage when it comes to people like you? I mean, he's done damage for pretty much almost everybody in this country, in my opinion, unless you're a tech billionaire. But what he's done to the farming industry since he took office?
Yeah. Well, it's a little more complicated than that because when I talk about farming in Arkansas, I mean, I'm a soybean and rice farmer, and that's pretty much what we grow in Arkansas. I mean, we have 5 million cropland acres. Most of what we grow is soybeans, and we don't eat soybeans. Animals do. And until this year, it was mostly Chinese animals. They had about 85% of our soybean market. Now, the first Trump administration, 2018, we started the first trade war with China. We lost about half of that market. Now, when that happened, China decided they were going to give us the middle finger. They went to Brazil and using their Belt and Road Initiative, they pumped a ton of money, low interest rate loans into Brazil, and using debt diplomacy, built their own soybean infrastructure. And so when we started the second trade war with China, because of tariffs, again, they gave us the middle finger and said, we're not buying a single bushel of soybeans from you in 2025. And they didn't. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, we give a $40 billion bailout to Argentina to stabilize their economy. They drop their export taxes and send shiploads of soybeans to China, which to the volume of about 60% of the soybean production in Arkansas in a single year. That's how much Argentina sent to China after we gave them $40 billion of American taxpayer dollars.
And I don't see people like Tom Cotton talking about this. And if he does talk about it, he seems to always defend the Trump administration. What has he done, if anything, to help the good people in Arkansas?
Nothing. In fact, every single quality of life metric in Arkansas has gone down under his watch. We are the hungriest state in the country. We are the single most food insecure state in the country. 1 in 4 children in Arkansas will go to bed hungry tonight. That's 180,000 children. We're one of the sickest. We're one of the poorest states. And it has become very clear to everyone in Arkansas that Tom Cotton is willing to spend any amount of money and resources anywhere else other than here. Shoot, anywhere else other than the United States. I mean, he'll spend money in Venezuela. He'll spend money in Argentina. But heaven forbid we use any of those billions of dollars to solve childhood hunger in the state of Arkansas.
Awful. I'm so sad to hear that. And that's why we need somebody like you. If you're just joining us, her name is Haley Schoffner. She is running for U.S. Senate to try to unseat the person that we are talking about right now, which is Tom Cotton. And like I said, I don't think I've ever said anything positive about Tom Cotton. I think he's a despicable human being. I do believe he's a racist. And for lack of a better term, I think he wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. Can't criticize Donald Trump for anything. I want to ask you about what's going on in Minneapolis, because I'm sure you have some opinions on that, because I think it's coming to a city near you, and I wish I was wrong. What do you make of the Renee Good shooting? What do you make of what they're doing to Tim Walz and Mayor Frey, and just IDing brown people and asking them, where's your paperwork? I mean, this is just, Holly, this is just some awful stuff. I'm sure you would agree. What do you make of what's transpiring here?
Yeah, I mean, it is awful. And it's not actually something we haven't experienced in Arkansas. I mean, Northwest Arkansas, that's where Tyson Foods is, and they employ a lot of the immigrant community, particularly Spanish speakers. And what I have said and what I have told the community in Northwest Arkansas, immigrants are a crucial part of the social, cultural, and economic fabric of our state. One thing I always say, they deported 600,000 people last year?
Yeah.
Well, we were promised by Tom Cotton during the election that would mean 600,000 American jobs. Well, the job market's worse. There is no correlation between the number of immigrants here in the United States and displacing of American jobs. In fact, it's the opposite. In Arkansas, our immigrants contribute significantly more to our rural communities than they will ever get out of it. It's an economic power that we are ignoring, and we're going to be worse off for these deportations. Not only that, we're now apparently picking up U.S. citizens.
Right. Yeah, we see
out of their homes in their underwear.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've seen those videos. It's just awful. And they're also not using warrants and barging down doors. They're using tear gas when there are little children in the backseat of cars. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I knew that it would be bad if Donald Trump got back into office. I didn't think it would be this bad. Did you?
And I've never run for political office before. And I can't say I was overly political before. I mean, I was farming for the last 9 years, and that's a pretty all-consuming thing. I say this about Arkansans, and I understand, I totally understand this desire to say, have the day you voted for. Arkansas did elect Donald Trump to the tune of 80 percentage points. But because Arkansas is a hungry state, because we're one of the poorest and the sickest, most people are not waking up in the morning worried about, whether or not someone is a trans athlete. They're not worried about the Epstein files. They're not worried about the East Wing coming down. They're worried about, can I afford my groceries? Is my job going to be there tomorrow? Can I afford to get my kid to the doctor? And Donald Trump came in and said, I'm going to fix it.
Right.
So I never will fault anybody for the way they voted. My point to them is, I'm not asking you to become a Democrat. I'm just asking, don't you think we can do a heck of a lot better than what we're doing right now?
Such a good point. And that was my next question. When 80% of people in a state vote for Donald Trump, that's an uphill climb, even for somebody like you who is not a Republican. So what do you do in this type of situation when 8 out of 10 people that went to the polls in your state, I would imagine hopefully it would be a little different now. Do you think it's changed now? What can you do to change people's minds? And of that 80%, how many of those people you think regret their vote?
We really don't talk a whole lot about how people voted in the past, because the one thing people don't understand about Arkansas is that if you take the number of registered Republicans and registered Democrats, you put them together, they're dwarfed by the number of registered nonpartisan voters. Mm-hmm. For the most part, when we register, we are not affiliated with any party. We're a very independent-minded state. I don't actually have to make the argument that Tom Cotton is the worst, because everybody already knows he's the worst. And I'm an extremely good alternative because I'm a 6th-generation farmer. Agriculture is our largest industry. I'm a mom of a young child. And right now we know women are, having to carry the burden of unaffordable healthcare, childcare, groceries. Small business owner. I understand what it means to make payroll and pay taxes. I mean, I'm a real person. I'm not a fake person like Tom Cotton. I'm not an automaton. I'm a really good alternative. And again, we're an independent-minded state. We are perfectly capable of making up our own decision about who best represents us. And it ain't Tom Cotton.
I tell you what, I don't think Tom Cotton could represent anybody well, except for maybe people that are yes men and yes women to Donald Trump. And maybe if you're a bigot, I think he'd be very good at representing those people.
Well, Tom Cotton wants to pick the winners and losers in this economy. And the winners are always going to look like him, worship like him, speak his language, have as much money as him, because honestly, he comes back to Arkansas the rare times he does, and he talks to us like we're stupid. I really don't even think he likes us very much as a state.
I mean, does he really think people are maybe I say to myself, is it that he is stupid or that he just thinks everybody else is stupid? I don't know. Maybe it's both. Maybe he's stupid and this is just the way he thinks. But I mean, the guy says a lot of dumb things in national interviews on a regular basis. And I think to myself, does this guy even have a high school education? I can't believe the things that come out of his mouth. But anyway, enough about him. I want to give you the opportunity right now because I want you to win. I want you to win the primary. I want you to win. In order to do that, let's get the message out there. How can people follow you? How can people learn more about you? How can people donate to your campaign? So please give out that information so my listeners can help.
So my website is HaleySchoffner.com. I am on every social channel there is at Haley Schoffner. I really need, so one of the things we ask is that we need, Arkansas is on board, but we need the rest of the country to turn its face to Arkansas and see something other than the hate and fear that Tom Cotton spews every single day.
Yeah.
We want people to know there's a farmer, a mom, a small business owner running a sophisticated campaign. We've raised over $1 million, which is record-breaking in Arkansas.
Wow.
We need them to like and share my content, get us noticed around the country, and show that Arkansas is a battleground state for the U.S. Senate.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'd love to have you on again before the midterms. We got a little while, but I really do appreciate you coming on, and I wish you the best of luck. If I could vote for you, I absolutely would. Unfortunately, I live in Nevada, but if I could vote for you, I would, and I would be really embarrassed that Tom Cotton is the guy that's going to be representing me. That's just, it's a complete embarrassment. We need more good, hardworking, decent, family-oriented people like you. Quite frankly, not just running for office, but winning. And I support you. So please be well and good luck with your campaign. Spread the word. And we will certainly do that. And we'll do anything we can to help you. And we'd love to have you on again. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank y'all so much.
You bet. I appreciate that. There you go, everybody. That's Haley Schoffner, who is a 6th-generational farmer, small business owner, trying to unseat Tom Cotton. And boy, I hope she does. She sounds like a lovely lady, very well spoken, very intelligent, very grounded. And listen, those are the kinds of people that I think that should be representing us as Americans, right? Or as anybody. And I wish her the best of luck, and I really do appreciate her joining us. Also, somebody that I have a lot of respect for. He's not running for office anytime soon, but of course he's co-hosting with me today, as he does every Wednesday. My good friend Leonard Cardinale, the longtime police officer and lieutenant. Leonard, good to see you, my friend. How are you doing?
I can't tell you how many people ask me to run for office. I don't know why, but I make it clear to them that I'm too straightforward. I'm to the point. I'm not really going to do the political thing. I'm not really going to.
And you're not hot-headed like I am. So you can.
I can get there.
You can deal with these MAGA people a little better than I. So Leonard, we have a lot to talk about today, and of course, I want to go over what's been transpiring in Minneapolis. But before we do that, Donald Trump held another off-the-wall press conference today, and in this press conference that he held, ridiculous and ignorant things. Now, I guess last night he was on Air Force One and they had some electrical issues, some sort of mechanical electrical issues. Yeah. So they had to land in Maryland, and then he took a backup plane, and then he flew out there, I believe, to Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
And he holds this press conference. And listen, I can play you the entire thing because everything he said was bat-you-know-what crazy. But this is a statement that the President of the United States made earlier today, and the reason why there are some people in other countries that don't like us very much because of the language that Donald Trump used.
Nothing good to say about Switzerland, by the way. Also.
Right. Listen to this about Switzerland. Yeah. Listen to what he said about Switzerland, where he says they're only good because of us. This is insane. Listen to this.
I mean, like you wouldn't believe. And I know so many people from Switzerland. Incredible place. Incredible, brilliant place. But I didn't realize that they're only good because of us. And there's so many other examples. I mean, us, probably other places, but a majority of the money they make is because of us. Because
what the hell are you talking about?
He has no idea the history of Switzerland.
I then realized that they're only good because of us. You're saying another country is only good because of the United States of America?
Can I say
what is he talking about?
Switzerland is one of the most progressive, and I'm talking about financially, not just ideological. They appreciate public employees. They're very public. It's a very comfortable, warm place, compassion and free education, free health care, very, very nice people, and they love their public employees. They don't really They don't really prefer private employees. But let me just finish, because that's why they were successful. They're not regressive. That's why Switzerland has been successful.
But Leonard, this wasn't a campaign rally. He acted like it was a campaign rally where all the Trump mushroom gobblers were there cheering him on.
There are people who say that emotionally he didn't progress past maybe a small teenager, a young teenager. And isn't that what a young, immature, inexperienced child would do? Just be, I don't like those guys. It wasn't for us.
Well, one would make the argument those are the types of people that he's also attracted to, but that's another story for another day, I guess. We can get to that later, Leonard. But, he's also very angry at Carney, and he's very cranky, and he's very upset. And, I thought Carney gave a very articulate speech.
Yeah.
And now Donald Trump is very, very upset and cranky at Carney. Listen to this.
To just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Yeah, okay. That's a very old, cranky man. Carney had a great speech, and Donnie could never speak like that man.
By the way, Europe and especially France would be happy to protect Canada.
Yeah,
if we decided that we didn't want to, or we're not in on it, or NATO, they would be very happy to protect Canada.
This was an embarrassing speech from beginning to end.
A lot of it was incoherent.
Well, most of it was, and just like the press conference,
not connecting dots, not sentences that are coherent together, making a point. It was just, it sounded like an old grandpa, You know, I love my grandpa. You know,
Donald
he's
Trump
dead,
belongs in a
nothing
home.
against grandpas, but he sounded like an old senile grandpa.
Well, Donald Trump does belong in a home, but he belongs in a home with bars and, you know, that type of home. They call it a jail cell. But listen, this was embarrassing from start to finish. I will tell you that every single time Donald Trump holds one of these world speeches, he makes one of these speeches on the world stage, I should say, he embarrasses himself. And here's another example of it. All these people on the right, when Joe Biden would have a gaffe, and listen, when you get around 80 years old, you're going to have gaffes. But all these people on the right that would say, oh, Joe Biden got mixed up. He slurred his words. He said this, he said that. Donald Trump, at least up to this point, has threatened military action against Greenland. Now, today he said, I don't think we'll need to do that. But he doesn't even know the difference between Greenland and Iceland. Now, this wasn't just a gaffe where he only made a mistake and said it once. He confused Greenland with Iceland multiple times, and here's one of those times.
I know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we know that they'd be there.
So hold on a second. Iceland has cost us a lot of money in the stock market? Is that what he just said? What?
Well, Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Really?
Okay, what costs us money is when he threatened tariffs.
Well, Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Oh, sorry. I thought
No, that's okay. I can play that over and over again because it's so funny and ridiculous.
And the thing is, Brian, I mess up, you mess up, but we catch ourselves and then we correct it, right? You say,
Right.
oh, I meant Greenland. But he just kept going.
But here's
digging deeper.
what makes it even more funny, Leonard. I agree with you.
Well, Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, so we all heard him say Iceland, right? We've played it. We heard him. So Caroline Leavitt was asked on social media. It wasn't even really asked. We know that he confused Iceland with Greenland multiple times. And Caroline the Liar Leavitt, what is her response? His written remarks referred to Greenland as a place of ice because that's what it is. You guys are the ones confused. What?
Well, Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Did he say piece of ice or did he say Iceland? I'm sorry. Am I hearing things?
He said Iceland
Leonard?
several times.
Yeah, I thought he said Iceland. I don't think he said a piece of ice. What is she talking about?
I don't think Caroline Leavitt talks in terms of reality like you and I think of reality.
Well, Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
A piece of ice. He didn't say a piece of ice has cost us a lot of money, which would make absolutely no sense, by the way. He said Iceland's costing us a lot of money. I think you get the point
Too
here.
bad we can't put it on a record and go,
Well, Iceland's already Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
You know who's cost us a lot of money? Donald J. Trump. That guy's cost us a lot of money. And so this is kind of funny because Gavin Newsom has been doing some interviews over the course of the last couple days, and I do have a lot of respect for Caitlin Collins. I think she does a good job at CNN.
She does do a good
Don't
job.
like everybody at CNN. I think
Me
Caitlin
neither.
Collins does a really good job. So Caitlin Collins ran into Gavin Newsom and asked him about Donald Trump calling Greenland Iceland multiple times. Listen to this exchange because it's very funny.
Did it stand out to you that he said Iceland multiple times when he was talking about Greenland?
And that every time a windmill turns, it costs $1,000. And a lot of stuff stands out. None of this is normalized. There's a normalization of deviancy of consciousness and, comments and commentary. And no other president, he's held to the curve. He's graded on a curve. I mean, it's really some jaw-dropping and remarkable statements that just, fly in the face of facts and evidence and common sense. So, but they're you've heard them over and over and over again. For the European audience, that may have been a new speech. My God, there wasn't anything new about that speech for the American audience. The only thing that was new is he said he's willing to negotiate, but wait a sec, that's not new either, because he's been saying we've wanted to negotiate for over a year.
Well, Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Gavin Newsom. And he was asked, Gavin Newsom was asked about the speech in general, like the entire speech. I love it when Gavin Newsom just goes after Donald Trump. Listen to this.
It was remarkably boring. It was remarkably insignificant. He was never going to invade Greenland. It was never real. So that was always a fade. And so he says, well, we should negotiate. Well, everybody here has been willing to negotiate for a year. So it had fire and fury, signifying absolutely nothing. even by Trump standards, I was rather curious. And there was boorish parts of it, but those were not even that consequential, including name-checking people he likes, people he didn't like. So, I was a little disappointed. I was a little nonplussed.
Yeah, I agree. One day they want to pay everybody in Greenland $100,000.
Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
The next day, they want to invade Greenland and possibly use military force.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next day, oh no, we're not going to use military force. That's definitely not going to be needed. Like this is crazy stuff.
Oh, and by the way, the people in Greenland, they get free medical. They get free education. They're not interested in being part of America because they know that we pay the highest drug prices, the highest medical prices, and that the prescription drugs are just out of control. So why would they give that up? Why would they give up that type of a society for people who move in with greedy medical people and take all your money? No, they're not going to do it. They're not interested in the money.
Leonard, this is so clownish. Do you remember when, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it Don Jr. and Charlie Kirk months back? They took like a trip to Greenland, and they paid like a group of people that are from Greenland to wear a MAGA hat and take a picture for a photo op. Like it was proven. They gave them lunch or something. They like paid them and gave them lunch to take pictures to wear a MAGA hat. I mean, this is pathetic stuff. Obviously, this is embarrassing. And these threats to our allies are also, what are we doing as a country where we threaten our own allies with taking over your country?
Does it make any sense, Brian, to threaten a country that says, come on in, put as much military as you want, build an Iron Dome, we're with you, dig for minerals, start digging tomorrow, welcoming them in, saying you can take whatever you want. Why would you need to occupy it? Why would you need to take it over?
It's insane because Donald Trump has no idea what he's doing. He's a delusional old man who wants to bully everybody. And, I do find it interesting because he punches down. What I mean by that is, he punches people that he believes are weaker than him. But then when you look at evil, murderous dictators like Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un, he kisses their ass. He does it all the time, right?
I don't know if they have something on him, or I don't know that's the rumor. But he seems to think he invited Vladimir Putin to pay $1 billion to be part of the peace committee for rebuilding Gaza.
This is who he is, and this is what he's done his entire life. He kisses the ring of horrible, evil dictators, and I believe he admires them. We could be talking about Viktor Orban. The list goes on. But if you're an ally and what I would consider a decent human being, or the good people of Greenland, we could be talking about Vladimir Zelensky, who, by the way, he called a dictator and said started the war, which is insane in itself, attacking our allies, going to our own politicians, elected politicians, saying that they deserve to be executed because they told our brave men and women in uniform to do not obey unlawful orders, which is, by the way, very good advice.
And he gets cooperation in his own party by threatening to primary them, by threatening to take their money, by threatening to make it so that they're never a politician again. And that's in his own party.
Yeah. So long story short, Leonard, we could play cut after cut of this speech. We could play cut. He is losing it. I was texting Ron Filipkowski yesterday, and I was like, are you watching this? I was talking about the 2-hour press conference yesterday, mumbling and bumbling. But here's the bottom line. Okay, this man is not well. We all know he's a terrible human being. He's evil. But he's also not very well mentally, and he's losing it by the day. And when you're considering, which they have in the past, taking over a country, the possibility of using military force, and you don't even distinguish or don't even know the difference between Greenland and Iceland, this man is not mentally fit for office. He never was. But if this isn't a perfect example of it, I don't know what is. Now, I want to move on, Leonard, and get your expertise on this because I think this is very important based on your background. We've been talking a lot on this show. You and I have talked about this, and the callers who've called in have been talking a lot about this. And before I get to this topic, though, I do want to give you the opportunity to read a YouTube Super Chat because I have not gotten to that yet. I'm being reminded. So if you have a YouTube Super Chat there.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah. So let's get to the YouTube Super Chats, and I know Numchuck, give him a couple seconds here. We're going to put them up on the screen. YouTube Super Chat, minimum of whatever you want to donate. I try not to put minimums on there. Your questions and comments will be heard, and you'll have the Leonard Cardinale reading it for you. So today's a great day to do it.
So first we have Immortal Suspects, who says, Donald Trump is so dumb, He doesn't know the difference between Iceland and Greenland, which we just talked about.
He's
He wants to
true.
invade a country and can't even get the name right, and he looks like crap, and he looks like he stinks.
I love these YouTube super chats. They really are
Can
great.
you really look like you stink? I mean, I don't know.
I think you can. If you look like crap, yeah.
Where's the other one, Numchuck?
He's going to put it. Numchuck's got it up there on the.
That was Immortal. I just read that one, the Immortal Suspects.
Oh, okay.
The other one was up there, but it's not
Yeah,
anymore.
that's okay. We'll put it back up.
Oh, I
there.
got it.
Yep, there you go.
It's Hannah, Montana. I'm about 20 minutes away from downtown Minnesota. ICE has spread to the suburbs, and a few agents were spotted less than 10 minutes from where I live. It's getting worse by the day. Well, be careful, Hannah. And it's getting pretty rowdy out there. I can't believe we live in America.
You know,
10 years ago, if somebody who said this could happen in America, Brian, I would have said,
yeah.
no, not
And
possible.
we love
but it's happening.
And we love our listeners everywhere, of course, but especially, in the last few weeks in Minneapolis, we've had people call in, and I love you guys, and I want all of you guys to be safe out there, and we're in this together. Your YouTube super chats will be read by Leonard throughout the remainder of the show.
The super chat reader.
The super chat reader. All right, so I've had these conversations over the last few weeks because people ask me on the right. I did a podcast yesterday, and a guy asked me on the podcast, he said, why do you have a problem? What are they protesting for in Minneapolis? Why do you have a problem with ICE agents getting criminals off the streets? And, I gave him a lot of different reasons why I thought he was very complicit. But one of the things I said was, you cannot go up to a random person on the street and demand ID and paperwork. That is against our Fourth
Not in
Amendment
this
right.
country.
You have to have reasonable and articulable suspicion that they've committed a crime. Now, I guess you can ask, right?
Okay, it's consent, reasonable suspicion, probable cause.
Right.
That's it. So if you go up and you try to get consent, if I come up to Brian and I go, hey, can I see your ID? And you say no, then I either have to have reasonable suspicion,
Correct.
which I can articulate,
Right.
or I have to have probable cause. Probable cause, I can seize you at that point. I can tell you're not free to leave.
There's a difference between asking and demanding, and we've seen videos in Minneapolis of officers saying, if you don't show me your ID, we're going to put you in back of our car, and then we're going to ID you. By the way, that means you're being detained. You can't detain somebody unless
You're not free to go.
Right. That you can't detain somebody unless you have reasonable or articulable suspicion. So I want to play you this audio, Leonard, and I want you to respond to it. So this is the police chief out there in Minneapolis, and this breaks my heart. Right? It breaks my heart when anybody isn't getting their constitutional rights. In this case, it would be the Fourth Amendment. This is powerful stuff. You have the police chief, and by the way, I have no idea what his political affiliation is. And I don't care. You have the police chief holding a press conference yesterday and telling the story about how he believes, and he's been told, that some of his officers, when they have been in regular street clothing off duty, his brown officers have been pulled over just driving past ICE and have been asked for their ID and their paperwork. This is pretty mesmerizing and sick stuff. Please have a listen to this.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Ruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day. It has to stop.
So he's right, and I'm really glad that he spoke up and he told those stories. That is the police chief, a member of law enforcement, a distinguished and I would imagine respected member of law enforcement, that is saying that other law enforcement people, in this case ICE agents, are pulling over some of his minority police officers, minorities, brown people, that are in street clothing, that are off duty, for no other reason other than I would imagine their skin color, and asking to see their paperwork. Mm-hmm. That is sick. You're somebody who has served as a police officer, Leonard, and a lieutenant in North Las Vegas for decades. When you hear a police chief tell those stories, I'm wondering what goes through your mind.
I think that we live in a time where there's a lot of civil rights violations. And I would probably, it'd be bad for me, Brian, because, I stay pretty chill, but I can get there. And if somebody came up and asked me randomly for my ID, I'd be like, no, not doing it. And they could try to force me. They could try to knock my phone out of my hand, but I would probably end up in jail or worse because just like January 6th, I was never trained to allow people to beat me with poles and to spray me. And so it probably would have got a little more out of hand. I may not have survived that encounter because I would not stand there and get beaten by a pole.
But you know what drives me nuts, Leonard, is that there are a lot of people on the right that are claiming that this police chief is making up these stories, that he's lying.
There's a video of it.
Which is insane. We see videos all over Minneapolis and quite frankly in other parts of the country as well, where you have people with accents and brown people that are being approached, harassed is the term I would use, asked for their ID. They say no, and then the officers are, these ICE officers, by the way, I want to be very clear, not police officers, ICE officers are trying to intimidate them. The same reason, or in my opinion, the same way before this horrible shooting of Renee Good, you had Jonathan Ross that was trying to intimidate her. Intimidate her. How, Brian? You might be saying, how did he try to intimidate? Well, first of all, why is he taking his cell phone out? When she says, I'm not mad at you, dude, why is he walking around the vehicle, to the back of the vehicle and to the front of the vehicle? Because they're trying to intimidate people. We cannot let this stuff happen. It needs to stop.
You're not Superman, okay? Department that's going to tell you to jump in front of a vehicle. And I would have that officer in my office sitting down, going over officer safety. If I saw an officer do that kind of tactic, that is a terrible tactic. It's unsafe. And like I said last time I was on the show, the police officer cannot escalate to deadly force. They cannot. If they could, they would do it all the time.
But Leonard, they're not conducting a full investigation because their claim is, well, millions of people saw the video, so we're not conducting a full investigation. They called this woman a domestic terrorist an hour after. And I bring up Ashley Babbitt, and the reason why two completely different scenarios. But there was an internal investigation. It took weeks for them, ballistics, everything, to investigate, and they found that the officer was justified. And by the way, I agree with that outcome. There's going to be no independent investigation, no real internal investigation. To my knowledge, they haven't done an autopsy. They haven't done ballistics. They haven't done any of this stuff.
Well, they're saying on the internet that she had a pulse, and I read this on the internet. She had a pulse for about 8 minutes. and they did not render aid. They did not allow a doctor on scene to render aid. And I'm telling you right now, in a real world, before this Trumpian society began to cultivate itself, you would be in a lot of trouble as a police officer,
Jonathan,
and you would be up for federal rights and civil rights violations and a whole host of charges.
Before we take calls, let's go through this real quickly, because and we will talk about the moments where Ross fired his weapon. But before I get to that point, which obviously is a very important one, let's start from scratch here with you. Whether she was there for 3 minutes or not, whether her intent was trying to block traffic or not, it's a misdemeanor. That's number one. Number two, if they wanted to get her out of the car, we see the start of this cell phone video of Jonathan Ross where she says, "I'm not mad at you." Why didn't he try to engage her there? He doesn't try to engage at all. That's when he walks to the back and the front of the vehicle. So let's just go one by one here. And you just said, that's against all protocol, right, in law enforcement, walking to the back of the vehicle, then walking to the front of the vehicle. Why is he doing that? And why is he doing that with a cell phone in his hand?
And you're not supposed to occupy your hands. In particular, your gun hand is supposed to always be empty. In fact, when I was in the police academy, we would get in trouble because in the morning when you're walking into the academy for the day, you have all kinds of equipment and uniforms and duty belts, but you are not allowed. You had to carry everything. You had giant bags with equipment and leave your right hand or your gun hand free.
Right. So
because they want it to be a habit. You don't put stuff in your gun hand.
Right. So that's number one. Number two, de-escalation. Going up to a vehicle and trying to pull on the door and saying, "Get the F out."
And starting with, not to interrupt you, but starting with that.
Right, correct. I was going to get to that. Instead of, "Hello, my name is Officer Ross. I'm with ICE. Ma'am, here's what we're going to need you to do. We're conducting an investigation.
Put your vehicle in park, turn it off.
Please put your vehicle in park. We need to talk to you. We need to get you out of the car and talk to you, or we need to get out of the area." One or the other. They didn't do any of that stuff. So completely against all de-escalation techniques. Now, to me, Leonard, and you tell me if this is just as important. After the shooting, he calls her an effing B word, which is repulsive in itself. And then he walks over to Renee Good's vehicle after she was shot. He doesn't do anything. He just takes a quick look. He doesn't even check her pulse. You're supposed to be providing life-saving care.
Says 911, pulls his mask up so to make sure that he can't be identified.
Right, which he was eventually, thank goodness. But so he does. So let's just start there before he leaves. We'll get to that in a second. Aren't you supposed to be checking her pulse and providing some life-saving care? We know he wasn't injured.
You have a duty to provide aid whenever possible, whenever it's safe. And then if he says he didn't want to, then you could say, well, there was a doctor.
Right.
And not only did your friends say that you couldn't, they said, I don't care whether you check or not.
Right,
and the effing bitch comment, that lends to mindset. When you do an investigation, you have to find what's called in Latin mens rea. What was your mindset when you did this? And if he's saying afterwards, after he knew that he used force on a female in a vehicle and shot multiple times, and he says effing B word about her, does that show his state of mind? Can we take that? It's subjective, but you can take it into consideration.
So Leonard, we've already talked about 4 or 5 different violations already. We're not even done yet. Then he's not injured. He casually walks back to his unmarked vehicle and says casually, "Guys, call 911. He gets into his vehicle after an officer-involved shooting. You're not supposed to leave the scene, my understanding, your training.
You can't leave the scene.
The weapon, he leaves the scene. He doesn't drive to the hospital, okay, like some people are claiming.
They secure your gun. They do a countdown on the rounds. And this is all policy and procedure. And then you have to stand by yourself. You can't talk to other officers. A representative comes out from the union and you can talk to them, but you're not supposed to talk about the details. And that's where the investigation begins. It begins right there, right then.
So he left the scene. That's another violation.
I've never heard of anything like that.
And this claim, by the way, of internal bleeding. We all saw the videos. Now, people on the right or even Donald Trump makes a statement, and the statement's like he was run over. That is a lie. He was barely grazed by the vehicle.
I bumped myself on the kitchen counter the other day. I was bleeding internally.
This is a joke. The car was turning to the right, and the MAGA narrative is she was trying to run him over, or some people might even say, I don't know what her intent was, but she struck him with the vehicle. He made no attempt to get out of the way. He put himself in that circumstance when she's trying to get out of there. And by the way, I'm not condoning her trying to drive away. I would imagine she was probably very scared. But at the same time, She wasn't trying to strike anybody. She barely grazed him. And then he fires his weapon multiple times on the side of the vehicle after the vehicle had already passed him.
Well, if you remember, I sent you a still picture. And in that still picture, and I still have it, the reverse lights are on, and the agent is already his gun's already coming out. And in that still photo, the reverse lights are on. And there's a video online of a guy in the same situation. And you know what he does, Brian? They turn the wheels, and he does. It's kind of a humorous video, and the truck comes at him, and he just steps out of the way.
Right. Well, that's all the officer needed to do, and so we've spoken about a number of different violations. But here's what we'll end this and take some calls. But before I do so, if you disagree with me, and you don't think this is a MAGA narrative, and you think this shooting was justified, okay. Why don't we have a full-on investigation? What I mean by full investigation is not a 1 hour fake investigation where Kristi Noem already makes her decision and calls Renee Good a domestic terrorist. That's not an investigation. Ballistics, we need to find out exactly injuries, autopsy.
We don't know. Some say 3 shots, some say 4. We don't know where they landed.
They haven't done
we don't know how much damage they did. That's why you have to have an investigation.
They haven't even had one. Now, I would like an independent investigation, but there hasn't even been a real investigation at all. Now, they claim, oh, well, we had an investigation and there's nothing else to see here. Give me a break.
Well, Todd Blanche said that they're not going to allow the civil rights organization to investigate. And let me just tell you why. Because under 1983, under the color of office, you cannot use your authority to rob someone of their civil rights. There's a 4th Amendment, there's search and seizure, there's a 14th Amendment, the 5th Amendment, which gives you right against self-incrimination. So when they start asking questions without probable cause, so they violated literally, at least off the top of my head, at least 3 or 4 different civil rights violations. And why that's important is because when you investigate civil rights violations, and you find out that the person violated their rights in the initial contact, that means the fruits of the poisonous tree. That means everything they did afterwards was not authorized.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in the and I know these are 2 completely different circumstances, but in the Ashley Babbitt internal investigation that was done, it took weeks, right? It took a while.
A long time.
They did a thorough investigation. So if you're one of those people that is criticizing what happened to Ashley Babbitt, by the way, her family got $5 million. I'm sorry they lost a loved one, but it was her own doing, and that was investigated. But if you're one of those people that disagrees with me and you think the Ashley Babbitt situation, it wasn't a thorough
What would happen if people called her a domestic terrorist an hour after she was shot?
Right, exactly. I made that statement earlier. But if you're one of those people that thinks that wasn't thorough, but you don't think there should even be an investigation, a real one, into the Renee Good shooting, then you have zero credibility. And I catch these people all the time. They have zero credibility.
Call it what it is, Brian. We know why they don't want an investigation.
Of course.
We know why.
Of course. And listen, I've been very clear. Ashley Babbitt, she was a terrorist, not Renee Good. Ashley Babbitt decided to storm the Capitol. She was trying to get through a glass window with a mob of people 10 feet away from politicians. Now, I don't know what would have happened if Ashley Good went through that window. But when a weapon is pointed at you, telling you to get down, and you don't do it, she got, I'm not going to say I wanted that to happen, but I certainly think she got what she gave.
She made a bad decision.
She made a horrible decision.
It was barricaded. The chamber was right behind the officer with his gun drawn, and the chambers, and there were legislators in the chambers. There was nowhere to fall back to.
Yeah. So they're completely different circumstances, but I just use it, Leonard, as right-wing hypocrisy. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some phone calls right now at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the program, 702-221-7283. Maybe you guys can help differentiate Greenland from Iceland, because I think Donald Trump struggled with that.
We got some people
today.
fired up in the room. Yeah. Maybe they'll call in.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people on social media where they'll disagree with me and they'll be keyboard warriors, but they don't have the bravery.
Let's see.
They don't have the Bone Spurs bravery to call into a radio show, live
I'm
political
type
show.
The number in so they can see it.
Yeah, go ahead. So I want to get to the phone calls now at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, anybody is welcome to call in. If you want to debate us, you're welcome to 702-221-SAVE to debate us.
Call in, that'd be nice.
Before I get to the phone calls, We are in the NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl is right around the corner. And I am so glad to be working with my good friends at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag is the website, and if you use the promo code LIMITS, you can receive a bet back bonus welcome offer of up to $500. Go to my Facebook page, and when you click on some of my videos on the Pushing the Limits Facebook page, you will see a link to click on Facebook. You go to that link, and then you will be able to sign up. Check them out at mybookie.ag. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And let's not waste any time. Let's get right to the calls right now. And why don't we start with Jeff? Jeff is first up on PTO. Hello, Jeff.
I read a story about Trump. I'd like your listeners to read it about what's going on.
Okay.
It's called Examining the Brian Shapiro.
Okay, so if you're trying to be, hold on, no, don't hang up on him. Don't hang up on him. We don't have to hang up on him. So Jeff, if you're off to a tough start, if you're trying to be funny, you're not funny.
Is this Clarence?
No, hold on, Jeff. If you'd like to have a serious conversation with me, I'm happy to do that with you, Jeff. That's why I open up.
Read that,
Jeff. Just give me a second here, Jeff. Okay, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. I'm happy to take your calls. We're living in very divided times right now, so let's try to have we're obviously going to disagree. Let's try to have a serious conversation, Jeff. Jeff, do you believe the officer in this situation was justified? And please tell me why. Go ahead, Jeff.
Did you claim $16,000 on your income tax so you can get free health care?
Plot him down again. Again, this is a guy that
Why is he being senseless?
Yeah, because he doesn't
you
want to
get
have
on the
a
radio.
serious
You have a
conversation.
chance to say something intelligent.
Jeff,
create an argument.
Jeff,
Come on, Jeff, you can do better.
Jeff, you have an opportunity to have a serious conversation with somebody on a political talk show. So I'm feeling very generous today.
Come on, Jeff. There's a couple of 100,000 people listening.
yeah.
Say something smart.
Jeff, I'm feeling very generous today, and I'm willing to give you. Boy, that was a weird to catch a predator laugh. That was very strange. That's the laugh you hear from him.
He's on mushrooms?
That's the laugh you hear from him across the street at recess. Okay, so Jeff, we're going to try this one more time, buddy, okay? I know it's really hard for you to have a serious conversation, and I know this is probably the highlight of your day to call into the Brian Shapiro show, because clearly I grow on you like fungus.
From grandma's basement.
Yeah. What am I going to say? What am I going to say to Brian Shapiro today to try to get him? Okay, Jeff. So we're going to try this.
Claim 16,000 on your Texas.
So yeah, it's just so stupid. So Jeff, we're not letting you talk yet. We're going to give you an opportunity to one more time. You get one more chance, Jeff. Okay, or you can embarrass yourself again. So Jeff, I'm asking you a very serious question in some very serious times. Now, if you don't want to talk about the shooting, that's fine. We can talk about Donald Trump. That's okay too.
Is he in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Hold on. Yeah, let's give him a chance, because that's too difficult of a question, I think, for him to answer, Leonard. Let's not be too difficult. That's too hard for him to answer.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah. So Jeff, why do you still support Donald Trump? What are the things he's done this year that you approve of? Let's start with something really easy. What are some policies that you like, Jeff, that what he's done? Go ahead, Jeff.
He pisses you off every day.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Jeff, are you capable?
He pisses you off every day.
Jeff, are you capable of being serious and having a serious conversation? I'm trying to be. You're making it really hard, Jeff.
What about the kids?
Jeff, let's talk about the kids. I'm happy to do that with you, Jeff. Okay, but hold on, Jeff. Jeff, hang on a second. The question isn't about my emotions and what pisses me off, and the question isn't about my personal life. The question is about Donald Trump's policies. So, Jeff, I know it's hard for you to focus, but let's try to focus, okay? So, Jeff, let's try this. Jeff, I know you like to talk about kids.
I'll tell you what.
All right, Jeff. I've given you enough time, Jeff. I'm gonna try one more time. Yeehaw, Jeff. All right, Jeff. Have a nice day. Yeehaw. Do we have any banjo? Do we have any banjo music that we can play? Jeff, thank you for the phone call. You said, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff is Donald Trump's base, okay? Jeff can't even answer a very simple...
I'm guessing cheap vodka. That's what he was drinking. That's my guess.
But the pathetic part about it is, and I guess maybe I should be honored by this, is that Jeff still listens to my show every day. And the highlight of Jeff's day is when he calls into this show and he tries to get me in some sort of weird...
Did you report $16,000 last year?
I think Jeff is confused with the minimum...
Ooh, you got him now.
Yeah, you got me there, Jeff. I think Jeff is confused with the minimum wage job that he has. And Jeff, have a nice day, pal. You sound like a very intelligent person.
We
702
did give him a chance.
702
Yeah,
221
right, exactly, Kelly. Moonshine.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's now go to Steve. Steve is next up on PTL. What's up, Steve?
Oh, that's a tough act to follow.
That was a bit of fun for us.
But I've had a tough 2 days. Read people's comments about what happened to Renee, and why didn't she comply and all this other stuff. If you look at the video and how they approached her car, and they did not have love in their eyes. They had hate.
I agree.
If she got that car or they pulled her out, what do you think would have happened to her?
Who knows? Unfortunately now she's no longer alive, sir. But I agree with you. I completely agree with you. And now they're opening up an investigation into her spouse. Like, what kind of despicable? These are the worst of the worst. Yeah, they want to open up. Her spouse had to watch her lose her life, and in my estimation, murdered. Okay. Yes. Is there a possibility that they were committing a misdemeanor? Yes. Is there a possibility that she was, I guess, maybe blocking traffic, even though she was waving people
use
by?
deadly force for a misdemeanor.
Of course not. And now they want to open up. Listen, they've already opened up investigations into Tim Waltz. They've opened up investigations for Frey. How did those charges with Letitia James work out? How did that work out? I'm just wondering. Or Comey. How did that work out? By the way, just so everybody knows, Jack Smith is waiting in 3 years. That case is not going away. Let me repeat. Jack Smith is waiting for you.
He
Donald
already
Trump.
said he has
He's
probable
waiting.
cause. He says, I have enough to prove my case. Let me ask you something, Steve. In the police academy, they yell in your face constantly. They intimidate you. They try to stress you out. Do you know why they do that?
Get you toughen up.
Well, they want to make sure that you're not going to lose your temper easily and that you can deal with the public. And some of the public's going to be drunk and very nasty and very negative. And the reason they train you that way is because they don't want you losing your temper and running up to a vehicle and going, get out of the car right now, and standing in front of a vehicle that possibly can move like Superman. They teach you not to do that.
Somebody on social media just said the Grim Reaper is waiting for Donald J. Trump. That's actually kind of funny.
So, I saw a dark shadow over his shoulder when he was on TV. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Kind of a darkness right here.
It's the devil waiting for him. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew is next up on PTL. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Brother Brian and Brother Leonard. Happy New Year to you,
Thank
folks.
you, Matthew.
And thank you for taking my call, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir, Brother Brian. I will say there's a couple key points here that I'd like to point out. For one, for those people that call into your show, because I'm a fan of your show and I follow your show, for them to show no empathy or sympathy for Miss Renee Good that was gunned down in cold blood murder is simply un-American, and they're not an American. Mm-hmm. Because a real American would show sympathy, empathy, compassion, condolences for their lost loved one who was murdered in cold blood murder. But also, I'm 49 years old. Both of my parents were Democrats, and they instilled in me, politics and stuff like that. But having living through the Cold War and all these different events that have taken place in American society, I truly believe that we are an authoritarian dictatorship right now, and it is not looking good for this country as long as Donald Trump still stays in office. And I'm sick and tired of living in a violent world. And if you're a real American, you should be too. The right wing always wants to paint the picture of the radical left being the enemy of the United States, which they have no backbone whatsoever to invoke articles of impeachment. And I simply just watched Donald Trump in Davos, Switzerland, and which, by the way, I'm so glad that Gavin Newsom was there, because I truly believe that the Dems...
I think we have Donald Trump. We don't. I thought we had Donald Trump live on the line talking about Iceland. I thought we did. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I was in
Yes,
Iceland.
sir. And I'm just, I was hearkening back to the words of Jesse the Body Ventura when he was saying in 1969 he was in the Philippines when there was a gentleman by the name of Ferdinand Marcos, that basically establish dictatorship.
Yeah.
I myself have been talking about for years that it was a day that was going to come where the United States government is going to start killing its own people.
Well,
and I'm telling you, brother,
I think
Brian,
we're dangerously close to that.
I'm not going to say that you are wrong. And again, I say this almost every day now. And by the way, thank you for the call, sir. I think you made a lot of great points. It's a great call. If you had told me that a year ago, I probably would have said, no, you're wrong. I think that's a stretch. I'm not saying that now. I appreciate your call. Before I get to the next caller, we'll get to Lewis in a moment. I have Mr. Leonard Cardinal, that's going to be reading a few more YouTube super chats for us. And by the way, we appreciate all your support. You could also go to my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. If you're watching on another platform and you're not on YouTube and you don't put in a YouTube super chat, you can go to pushingthelimits.live. And we accept donations of $5, $10, $20, really whatever you can afford. We greatly appreciate that. All right, Leonard, take it away with the YouTube super chats.
We got Abel that says, I love the fact that you debate Rob. And I think they're talking about Rob. What's his last name?
Rob Noor?
Yeah, I think so. I think
not
that's
really
what
much
he's
of a
saying.
debate.
Abel says, you're pretty good at debating Rob Noor. You guys are frenemies. I thought Rob Noor was terrible.
Rob Noor is one of Andrew Wilson's lapdogs.
He's boring.
Oh, he's horrible. I've called into his show a few times as I'm home, and I just kind of get my jollies just by calling because he's so stupid. But anyway, 99% of the people that are listening right now have no idea who that guy is, and there's a reason for that because he's a talentless clown. Go ahead.
Shelly says Shelly's one of our regular listeners, and she's always in the room. And from what I can tell, she seems to be a very nice lady. She says, "Thanks for saying what you said yesterday at the end of the show. I said I was depressed. You pulled no punches, and I'm glad you don't. I'm glad you don't just can't pull myself out of it. Thank you for being honest."
Oh, well, that's very nice of you, my dear. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. Thank you. And we appreciate all of you very much. And
hang in there, Shelly.
Yep. We'll be reading some more YouTube super chats as the show goes on. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis is next up on PTO. Hello, Lewis.
Hey, Brian Leonard. How you guys doing?
Hey, good.
Lewis.
What's on your mind today,
Couple
Lewis?
of things. Do you guys agree with me? I've watched the video a million times. When she was backing up, he had his gun drawn. Now, if it took time to draw his gun, he had plenty of time to get away from that car.
Okay, so
agree.
In that moment, and I don't know if you listened earlier, but I sent Brian a still picture that shows the reverse lights of the vehicle are on.
Yeah.
And in the video, you can see the agent. Yeah. I'm not going to call him an officer. The agent is already starting to pull his gun. So if she's backing up, if she's in reverse, number one, why are you pulling your gun? Because that's obviously not a threat. And number two, why don't you just step out of the way? One small step to the right, and he would have been out of the way. I think he forced that use of force.
Absolutely.
I think he's the one who escalated.
Absolutely. 150%. So yes, sir, I completely agree. All you had to do is step out of the way.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I watched the Davos thing on Trump today. And could you imagine if Barack Obama did the same thing Trump did, talking about I did this and I did that?
Sir,
I never heard one word out of we.
Yeah.
We as a country. It was all about him.
But sir, I say that about Joe Biden, Barack Obama. Can you imagine if Joe Biden or Barack Obama did this? Could you imagine if they said that? I mean, we can do this every single day. The double standard and the hypocrisy from people on the right is astounding. I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you so much. So occasionally I'll read a few chats from some of the haters out there because I think it's actually kind of funny.
Let's do it.
And these are, by the way, the same people that are not willing to call into the show, but they're
they're fraidy cats.
They're keyboard warriors. So there's one guy on social media that says, quote, "It seems like your show has gotten smaller ever since you did Tim Pool." So first of all, I think he's confused with every woman in his life that has said he seems very small. That's number one. Number two, sir, I've gained 50,000 Facebook subscribers since I've done the Tim Pool show.
And probably a good 10,000 on YouTube since then.
So if anything, It's gotten much larger, just like you
if
get
you look
larger.
at the subscribers every day, they go up.
It's gotten much larger, I would imagine, sir, just like you get larger every time you look at your Donald Trump poster before you go to sleep. 702-221-7283.
What about that 16,000?
Yeah. What about that? Let's go to Courtney. Courtney is next up on PTL. What's up, Courtney?
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing good. What's on your mind?
I just want to say it was definitely murder. I mean, we've seen too many videos. Somebody mentioned some other video where she supposedly was drive forward, but if that existed, it would already be out. I'm curious on your take on this whole Michael Cohen thing, because I think this is crazy. I mean, I never really trusted Michael because I feel like he knows more about the Epstein files than he's actually
So let me be
saying.
very clear. Let me be very clear on this. Michael Cohen has always been a snake. He's a bad guy. He's untrustworthy. He's only out for himself. He wanted to sell books and make money. And now he's trying to cozy up to MAGA in one way, shape, or form because he understands that his grift is up. Michael Cohen is a snake. He's a scumbag. And I think he belongs behind bars. So we can't take any grain of credibility to anything that Michael Cohen
He has
says.
no moral fiber, no moral compass.
No, and
he's just going to do whatever he thinks keeps him in the interest of the people and making money.
And
That's
my friend JoJo from Jersey, she just did the show the other day, Joanna Carducci, who I think is great.
She's awesome.
I mean, she's apologized because she's actually had Michael Cohen on her podcast and she refuses to talk to him anymore. But you know, when you associate yourself with people like that, and what I mean by associate yourself is not just have them on your show. I wouldn't mind having somebody like that on my show, but when you text them and you're friends with them, this is what you're going to get. They have no credibility. And again, Michael Cohen is one of the swampiest douchebags you can find.
Thank you.
Thank you for the phone call, my dear. I appreciate you. Number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the program, is 702-221-SAVE. If you're one of those keyboard warriors on social media and you disagree with me, now's your chance to call in and have a debate. Or you can be a coward and just type behind your computer.
Right. They can say more than one sentence at a time.
Yeah. Well, most
and
of
then
them
wait
can't.
5 minutes and write another sentence.
Leonard, let's be honest. Most of them can't. Let's be honest. I mean, come on. 702-221.
I don't know what they're afraid of. I'll be nice. I promise.
I won't. 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. Leon is next on PTL. Hello, Leon.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian and Leonard. Like the name Leonard.
That's right, Leon.
ARD, Leon Leonard.
Long firm of Leon.
One thing I want to say is we all know that that ICE agent murdered that young lady. Even Stevie Wonder could see that the agent that murdered that lady. But one thing I will say is that I really do not think Trump plans on leaving the office in 3 years.
I agree.
I really do think that everything that he is doing with the ICE agents, sending them around the communities, talking about deploying the military on U.S. citizens, I think that he is really setting himself up so that he isn't going to leave the office in 4 years. I think that they're going to do something to steal the election, whether it's stealing ballot boxes at the midterms. I just think that we are in a
Leon,
world
can I ask you a question? Do you think that's the reason why Trump said he's putting emergency response people, officers and agents in every single, by April? He said by April, all 50 states will have emergency response officers dealing with problems. Do you think that's part of the plan?
Exactly. I think that is part of the plan. And he already said, when he was running for the presidency, he said that this will be the last election. The guy
He said you won't have to, you guys don't worry about it. You won't have to vote again. That's what he said.
That's what he said. He said the truth out loud. He said what he was going to do out loud. And I mean, I don't know what we can do. I don't know what we can do as citizens, as taxpayers, of how we can try to remove this guy. But I just think that we are in a world of hurt. I don't think that there'll be a midterm. If there will be, it'll be rigged. And I really don't.
Well, that's what he's going to say. He's going to say, Leon's going to say it was rigged, and he really won, and the people he supported really won, and that he's not going to allow these people who are elected to take their spots. And they're going to investigate. This is what I think he's going to do. They're going to investigate the election, and no one can be put into place until they investigate it. And it's going to take about 2 years to tie up the investigation until the 28 elections. That's what I think he's going to do.
Yeah.
Yep, and you look at all the things that he's doing with Greenland.
Iceland. It's Iceland. It's Iceland. Let's get it right. It's Iceland. Yeah.
That Iceland already ruined the markets today. They cost us a lot of money.
They plummeted the stocks. It's that damn the Penguins.
Iceland's standing there like, what?
It's the Penguins. The Penguins did it, man. It's the Penguins.
Exactly.
What did I do?
Iceland and Greenland.
But hey, man, I appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks, Leon.
I watch your show every day, Brian. Man, I love how you beat the BTA Delta ass, those maggots.
Keep
doing what you're doing, brother, and I appreciate what you guys do.
As long as you guys are still there, I'll keep doing what I'm doing, my friend, and I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283, calling out all MAGA cowards. Feel free to call in and tell me why you think I'm wrong. 702-221-SAVE. They're few and far between. It takes so much bravery to use your little orange fingers and call into a show.
But how hard is it just to get on the phone with Brian and talk to you and say, this is what I believe and this is what I think happened?
Because I'll tell you why. Can I tell you why? This is my personal
I'm confused.
opinion. Donald Trump's base of supporters, for the most part, are very ill-informed and very uneducated. They'll go on a social media platform in their echo chamber bubble, and they'll just call out people and call them names with no substance of what they are referring to or talking about. And then when they have an opportunity to call and do a show and have a real discussion, they don't know how
and they don't want to be informed
because they're not capable. Right. They're not smart enough to have a reasonable conversation in any way, shape, or form and try to articulate why they support Donald Trump or try to defend some of the horrible things that he's doing and some of the horrible things that he's done. I always give them the opportunity. Let's go to Mark, 702-221-SAVE. Mark is next on PTL. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Brian Leonard.
Hey,
Mark.
Man, let me tell you guys, I mean, has it been so long that, I mean, I know you guys got to remember this time in history when, with Jim Jones and the whole Jonestown massacre?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they're taking it out of the history books in some schools.
Yep.
Especially in the South.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the whole thing. I mean, where's Elon Musk now? You know, I mean, he spent like $240 billion to swing the election by buying Twitter.
He just gave someone $10 million, I think, yesterday for a Senate run.
The only reason why he's trying to go back in Donald Trump's good graces is that to help Republicans in the midterms. He knows it's best for him and his investors if he's on Donald Trump's good side because he's a phony. He's a two-faced phony. That's the only reason why Elon Musk is doing this. Yes, I do believe without Elon Musk, Donald Trump probably doesn't win the election. That's my personal opinion.
They both implied that something shady went on.
Yeah. Well,
both of them.
Yeah, I try not to get into the weeds with those conversations, but we're stuck with Donald Trump for another 3 years.
They I mean, in his prior administration, all the people he used and threw away, it's like, you guys drank the Kool-Aid, like it's right in front of your faces. And it's like, the reason why I bring up Jim Jones, like, you know, I get blown away sometimes. I see some documentaries, like, man, I wish they would replay these things more.
What do you think about them taking real history
on steroids? But
the real history that really happened and removing it from people, educational books
on the live right there, and like that's where you guys are basically. That's what's going to happen if you guys don't wake up. You know, it's.
I said 6 months ago. I said it on every social media platform when I saw him deploying the National Guard into D.C. and other places. I said there are people that are going to lose their lives. There are people that are going to be murdered. They could be. And by the way, I didn't want any of this to happen, whether it's ICE agents. And we saw what happened in D.C. with the brave female officer who lost her life. I think that the gentleman who was shot is recovering, my understanding. I said that these incidents were going to happen. I didn't want them to happen. I said that innocent people are going to lose their lives on both sides, whether you're an ICE agent or whether you're a citizen. And that is exactly what it's going to happen.
Unfortunately, he took the election. I already knew it was like, that's going to be bad. We're going to see a lot of, but I really hope here, honestly, is this man is so mind-numbingly stupid that I don't think he can, I think his stupidity will bite him in the ass. I mean, in the end, or his health will, I find it hard to believe that he'll complete this term, to be honest.
Well, I don't know whether that happens or not, but I can tell you this thing. J.D. Vance ain't much better. He ain't much better.
He's soulless.
There's too many enablers around Donald Trump. You see, in his first administration, there were some competent people around Donald Trump. Not many, but there were a small handful of people that were semi-competent. He has literally nobody around him.
He got rid of all of them.
Yeah, and then you have somebody like
he's a phony.
Yeah, and then you have somebody like a Marco Rubio, who obviously has a lot of experience, but he's a Trump mushroom gobbler.
Or a Fox News host in charge of the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Thanks, saying, sir, I do appreciate your phone call. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
the call, Mark.
Let's get back to the YouTube super chat, if I may, where Leonard will be reading another YouTube super chat. Go ahead, Leonard.
This is from Terrence Jones. Thank you for the contribution. Hey, Leonard. Like I told Brian yesterday, I appreciate him and you for keeping us all informed on the truth and having the inner strength to have conversations with those maggot supporters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of these people are not willing to have these kinds of conversations. Which
you know what, Brian? In all fairness, I think it's very nice of you to have a fair platform where the other side can call in. What's wrong with that?
I always give them the opportunity, but the reason why sometimes I pod some of these people down is because they don't answer my questions.
Or they have to let you talk.
People
are not going to listen to two people just yelling at each other.
Not just that, but answer my direct questions. Even if I don't like the answer, just answer and don't spread misinformation, whether it be medical misinformation or misinformation about an election. I don't tolerate that stuff on this show. If you have a different opinion, that's fine. Okay, if you think Trump's a good president, tell me why. Give me some policies. And if you say, I like it because it's Make America Great Again, that's not a policy, that's a slogan. That's when I pod you down. 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Frankie. Frankie is next up on PTL. What's up, Frankie?
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Frankie. Go right ahead.
Yes. I love your show. And, sorry, technical difficulties here.
That's all right.
Did you have a question or a comment, Frankie?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Well, riddle me this. What's the difference between Caligula and Trump?
He's talking about Caligula from way back in the day. The first thing that comes to mind is prima nocta, because that no longer exists, and that's just a joke. But he did consolidate power. He did make senators do things they didn't want to do, and he killed people whenever they got in his way. But he suffered a tremendously bad fate, did he not?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say this, right? What's the difference between Donald Trump and somebody like Vladimir Putin? The only difference being maybe Vladimir Putin has already very much so succeeded in being an evil dictator, and I think Donald Trump is well within his way. Let me ask you a question. Vladimir Putin tries to invade Ukraine, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their lives. And I'm not saying it would be on that big of a scale, but what's the difference with what Vladimir Putin is doing, taking over Ukraine, and what Donald Trump is threatening to do in Greenland? Really, what's the difference? I mean, he's threatened military force. Today, he eased up on that. They haven't taken it off the table in the past. If you are an evil dictator or you try to kidnap a president from another country to steal their oil, what's the difference between that?
He went in and he occupied Venezuela.
Yeah. And over 100 people lost their lives.
And they didn't fight like Ukraine. But essentially, how can you condemn Vladimir Putin when Trump just did it? And in my opinion, that is as un-American as it gets. Imperialism is not part of America.
Listen, there's a reason why he plays footsie with Kim Jong-un and he writes love letters. Has he written any love letters to any Democrat politicians? No, all he does is attack them 24/7 or threaten them with execution. Let's think about that. He writes love letters to Kim Jong-un. He rolls out the red carpet in Alaska on American soil for Vladimir Putin. All he does is praise Viktor Orban. That's what this guy does. You know why? Because he's a wannabe evil dictator. And sadly, he might succeed. When you look at what's going on with ICE all across the country, the lawlessness of ICE. Okay, I'll start with that. He believes he's above the law. J.D. Vance already said that Jonathan Ross and ICE agents have immunity, which, by the way, they don't.
There's no such thing.
That is not true. Unfortunately, Donald Trump is well on his way.
But they have, Brian, is qualified immunity.
Yeah.
They have, and you have to be doing the right thing at the right time. And yes, like a surgeon who's doing a heart transplant, they have immunity if the person dies because they were trying to do something that is correct and right.
Go ahead, sir. I'll let you respond to that. Go ahead.
You there, Frankie?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Frankie?
Yes. The punchline to Caligula and Trump is Caligula put a horse's ass in the Senate, but Donald Trump is just a horse's ass.
Well, that's definitely true.
That was better than my joke.
Didn't he call Stormy Daniels horseface, right? Why would you pay if you think Stormy Daniels, is horseface?
No, it was one of the Republican ladies, Fiona,
I know who you're talking about, but he also did call Stormy horseface too.
Did he really?
And then I would say, Mr. President, then why did you pay her $130,000 for 13 seconds of excitement for you and hell for her?
So someone in the room wants me to ask you if you can do a live show for the Jack Smith testimony tomorrow.
It depends what time the testimony is. There's a possibility that certainly we could.
I don't know
that.
what time it's going.
It depends what time it starts. I'll have to look into that. But certainly we will be covering it. Absolutely, we will be. Warren Smith, I have a debate scheduled tomorrow. Now, if you don't know who Warren is, he's a guy that has like millions of followers. I think he's over 1 million or 500,000 on YouTube. And we got into a good spirited debate a few months ago. He has a large following. In fact, there are a lot of videos of people breaking down our debate. We're going to have a discussion about ICE tomorrow. I don't know if it'll be a debate, more of a discussion, but Warren Smith is a pretty popular guy, and we have him scheduled tomorrow. But we will absolutely be covering the Jack Smith testimony, and I think it'll be very similar to the Jack Smith testimony that was behind closed doors.
I think the ICE agents are all headed for litigation. They're all headed for criminal charges possibly and civil lawsuits.
So
that's what I think.
Numchuck just informed me that the testimony starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which would be 7 a.m. our time. So which means we'll probably have plenty of clips that we will be playing, and it might still be going on when we're on the air.
So clips then?
Yeah, so we'll absolutely be covering it, no doubt. I appreciate that. We will be covering it. Again, number to call 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next on PTL. Hello, Terry.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Good afternoon, Leonard.
Hi.
Good afternoon. I was just relieving my headache from earlier this morning. A day of total disgrace and embarrassment for this country. We have a president that is nothing but a village idiot. And I'm wondering maybe if he needs one of those electronic earpieces so that he can find the right words to deliver a speech.
Remember when they were remember when they were accusing Kamala Harris of doing that in the debate?
I think it was Joe Biden. Joe Biden in the 2020 presidential debate, he accused him of having an electronic ear device. And that was in my comments. That was in the comment I was going to make next.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I think he's going to really need, because this man is incoherent and should not be the president of our country. He's going to need a computer chip in his collar in case he wanders away. This man is, he does not
deserve. And the earpiece will say, Donald, come back. Or maybe a dog collar. They shock them. You know how they shock the dogs?
I actually think Melania Trump has a collar, and it shocks her whenever she's within 10 miles of Donald Trump, and it warns her so that she makes sure she's not in the same zip code. I actually think. By the way, is anybody going to buy her or watch her crappy documentary? Really, does anybody out there care about this stupid Melania Trump documentary talking her book and her Christmas ornaments?
You have to wait and see.
What a disgraceful woman. Okay, I don't care about Melania Trump. We all know why you married Donald Trump. We all know it's a contractual marriage. I don't care about you. I don't care about your personal life. You're just as much a disgrace as Donald Trump is. I don't care. Do you? I'll wear that jacket when this documentary comes out. It's so repulsive to me. Does anybody care about Melania?
Up to 26th. Does that sound?
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Yeah.
Brian, apparently they don't, because ticket sales are very, very low for that. So that's what I'm hearing.
She's boring.
My name is Melania Trump, and I'm going to tell you how I came to this country and took my clothes off, and then I found the man of my dreams, the orange orangutan himself, and I married him for his money, Donald Trump. Yeah, I really want to hear about that.
I hit the jackpot.
What a joke. What a disgrace. The whole family. Thank you for the call, my dear. I appreciate you.
I hit jackpot, yes.
Yeah, she hit the jackpot. All right. She doesn't even want to be seen anywhere near him. She has these like once a month obligations. Maybe she'll slap his hand away. When was the last time you think they were even in the same bed together? I think when Barron was conceived. And maybe that wasn't a bed. Maybe that was at Mar-a-Lago in the bathroom. I don't even know. But
we don't know how he was conceived.
That's true. Could have been artificial insemination. That's true. That's true.
He does support IVF.
That is true. You think maybe it was Matt Gaetz? You think he's the real dad? I don't know. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, if he comes out with the Joker eyes and the
Who knows?
And the weird eyebrows, yes.
Here's a question for you. Is there anybody out there that will be watching this Melania Trump documentary? Do you know how much money you would have to pay me?
Call in and tell us why.
Do you know how much money you would have to pay me? I'd rather listen to the Myron Gaines podcast, and that's really, really torture, than to watch the Melania Trump documentary about her wonderful life. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Maybe she can call in to the show.
Melania?
Melania. This
Melania,
is putting it out there. Call into the show.
Melania, when was the last time you saw Mushroom Man naked? That's what I would ask. 702-221-7283.
Everybody just went.
I think we have somebody else in the YouTube super chat. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Do we have another Rob Knorr fan that's listening to the show? Really? Same guy?
Rob Knorr was literally looking at his laptop. He was literally typing, and he was reading and typing at the same time. He wasn't. I think Andrew Wilson was giving him the response.
It was actually funny because I called into a show the other day. I'm at home. I'm like, and I'm on YouTube because I'm doing work, and I see that he's live. And I call into his show. And by the way, again, 99% of the people have no idea who this guy is because he has like 200 listeners.
He's kind of a nobody.
But it's funny because I call into his show, and I went on, he let me go, and he didn't interrupt me. I went on like a 15-minute rant, just mocking him and how pathetic he is, and he let me do it. And I guess he's going to cut it up and he'll probably make some money. And I'm totally okay with that. Let the man make a living. Let him make money.
Sure.
You know, it's fine. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Eric. Eric is next on PTO. Hello, Eric.
How's it going?
What's up, Eric? What's on your mind?
Nick Shirley. A lot of topics, but you run your mouth about a lot of shit.
Okay, so hold on. Eric, we can't swear. Eric, I'm happy to have you on and have a conversation, but please don't swear because we have FCC violations.
And he's happy to run his mouth, actually.
Yeah, that's fine. So, Eric, go right ahead, but please don't swear. Go ahead.
So why do you think Nick Shirley is telling lies? Because that's what you're saying, right?
Okay, hold on. Okay, so, Eric, first of all, the first thing I'll start with before I get to the lies is that Nick Shirley is a grifter. The reason why he's a grifter is because, are you aware of his trip he took to the Ukraine not that long ago? Are you aware of that trip?
I'm aware of a lot of the trips he took.
Okay, so you aware of some of the videos?
But that one.
Hold on. Yeah, are you aware of the videos where he made satire videos? Are you aware of that?
So that makes him not.
Are you aware of them? I'm just asking you a question. Yeah. Okay, so here's why. Okay, when you go to another country that is at war, and you travel to that country knowing that innocent people are losing their lives, and you openly admit that you're there and you made some satire videos, videoing some expensive cars, diminishing the seriousness of this war so that you can make money on YouTube, that doesn't make you a journalist. It makes you a buffoon. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, okay, now hold on. You mentioned lies. No, hold on. I'm going to.
It was not an accurate
sir. I'll let you respond, but I want to answer your question about the lies. Okay. So when you go to a learning center and you open up the door and it's locked, and you don't in the initial video say their normal hours of operation, when there's a sign on the door that says it's open at 2 p.m., and you try to open the door and it's locked, and you don't mention their hours, and you say there's no kids in there, why is it locked? You are a liar. Now, a lot of people on the, I'll ask you a question now. A lot of people on the right. Hold on. We'll go back and forth. I promise.
You gotta let me respond.
I will let you respond, but you asked me.
You said you were going to let me respond.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll be before you ask another question.
Okay, so go ahead and respond, and then I'll get to my question.
Ready.
Go
He's
ahead.
Ready,
go ahead, sir.
Okay, so do you know how long the original video was for those schools? Because it wasn't just the learning center.
He's asking.
Do you know how long the original video was?
You're not responding. You're asking another question. So just to be fair, that's not a response. You're now asking.
I thought you were going to prove why
because you said
Nick Shirley is not a liar.
So
that's what we're talking about.
So I just pointed out. Hold on. Let me repeat again. Let me repeat again. In the edited video that he put out there, in the video, if you're an actual journalist, you don't make the narrative that there's no kids in there and they're not open.
I already heard you say that.
Okay.
You haven't heard the new stuff that I've said.
Okay. So that's the video, sir. Hear me out. That's the video that he put out. He also claimed that he exposed all this fraud.
And there was none.
Hold on. Hold on.
I got clipped.
Okay, so first of all, we're not buddies. We're having a conversation. We don't need to call each other buddies. Now, He claimed that he exposed all this fraud. Can you please name me one new investigation into any of the 10 facilities that he went to where fraud has been exposed and charges have been filed?
In fact, they found out there was no fraud.
So,
That's what they found out.
10 facilities.
Hold on. Can you name me one investigation or one charge that was filed with any of the facilities that he went to? One instance of fraud.
Not at this moment.
Not at this moment. Okay, so when he says he exposed fraud, is that a lie or is that truth?
It's not a lie.
It's a lie.
How's that not a lie?
So there's no charges. Hold on. No. You don't know what a lie is. When you say you expose,
you don't know what a lie
okay, you
is.
just swore again. I'm giving you another opportunity, but don't do that again.
Well, come on, man. Just have good faith.
Okay, I have good faith. You asked me. Okay, so if there's no new investigations and there's no charges, what was this fraud? Tell me.
Okay, so the person that gave Nick all the information, do you know who that guy is?
Yeah,
Nick.
Yeah. You're talking. No, I know what he's talking about. Let me answer the question. He is a right-wing propaganda guy named David who has been doing this for quite some time now, and he is a Republican operative. And the reason why Nick Shirley didn't give out his last name in the video is because people did research on him. He is a guy from a PAC. Well, yeah, you can laugh all you want to. Who cares who David is? Who cares? I asked you what fraud has been exposed.
That's where we got all the info from.
Oh, okay. So who cares?
Bro.
So
calm down.
No. First of all,
I literally
fly
out.
Sir, I didn't debate Nick on this issue. You have no idea what you're talking about. I saw Nick.
I saw you. Sir,
and when was that, Nick?
Why are you lying?
Sir, in that video,
why are you lying?
Sir, when was that video?
About this?
Okay, so let's find out who the real liar is. I'm so glad you brought up that video. Sir, when was that taken and where was it?
I don't know where the fuck it was.
Okay,
there
he goes swearing again. You're done. Okay, I asked you multiple times not to swear. Hold on, let me just correct him real quick. We now know who the real liar is, you dummy. I met Nick Shirley and his mother at AmFest in Phoenix a week before he put out this video. Not once in that entire debate, unedited, did we talk about Somalian fraud. You lying MAGA doofus, you. So now you've just proved that you're the liar or ill-informed or just making things up. In that entire video, that was a week before he released any of his stuff on alleged fraud in Minneapolis. We didn't even mention the word Somalian, let alone debate it. So now we know who the liar is. You are certainly not a master debater, sir. So, or maybe you are.
Well, you know what I was going to ask Eric, Brian? I was going to ask him if he knew that during the Biden administration, there were 92 arrests for fraud related to exactly what they were talking about. So Biden, 92 arrests. Trump, you know how many?
Yeah.
0.
But let me just go back to something very simple. This guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about.
This is how they operate.
He just claimed that I debated Nick Shirley about Somalian fraud. This guy is so stupid.
And he said, I saw the video. I watched the video.
Yeah. So if he watched the video, he would know Somalian fraud was never brought up. And I met Nick and his mom and had a debate with him before he released any videos about alleged fraud in Minnesota. So this guy just proved my point. He's the liar. He's misinformed. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's a Trump mushroom gobbler. Have a nice day, sir. 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Mohammed. Mohammed is next up on PTL. Hello, Mohammed. Did Mohammed just hang up the phone? Do we have another MAGA coward, perhaps?
Mohammed, call back. I'll be nice. I promise.
Yeah.
I can't speak for Brian.
I mean, these people are insufferable.
Well, what he did, Brian, was he tried to set up a gotcha comment, right? And then he lied about what he knew about it. And he lied about what actually happened. And just as usual, you hit him with facts and said he was there. The place was closed. In fact, there was no, and no one's going to let people in. He's like, I just want to take pictures of the children. Who in their right mind, who's in charge of a child care facility, would allow someone to come in and say, oh, yeah, come on in and take pictures of the children? Really?
So let's just review.
Is that his premise?
Leonard, let's just review really quickly. The guy just admitted that there have been no charges and no new investigations into fraud, but still claims that he exposed fraud. Can't articulate what the fraud is. but still admitted that there was fraud. Okay, that's number one.
No, there was fraud. There was.
Number two, he completely lied about me having a debate with Nick Shirley. We didn't even bring up Somalian fraud because I met him a week before the videos came out, so he didn't know what he was talking about there. He swore on the air multiple times when I asked him very politely, sir, please don't swear. So obviously he can't control himself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Donald Trump's base.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. That's how they get their narrative out. They lie.
Ill-informed and uneducated, middle-aged white people that lie. Just like
he said it with conviction, Brian. He said, I saw the video.
Yeah.
I saw what you said. And it never came up. But he was saying, like, it in his reality, he really saw you do that.
Yeah, he saw the video just like Donald Trump has seen his penis in the last 40 years. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Alexa. Alexa is next on PTL. Hello, Alexa.
Hi, Alexa.
Hi, Brian. Hi, dear.
Yeah. What's up?
I have a question for you. Can we stop calling them uneducated? Can we start telling them that the evil people? They are evil people.
Well, I think you can be both, but here's where I will differentiate. There are some very ill-informed and uneducated people in this country that are not evil. Yes, you're correct. Some of these people are evil, but I do know people that are very ignorant and uneducated, and I don't have a problem with those people unless they affect me in my life. If you voted for Donald Trump and you're uneducated and ill-informed, you're affecting me in my life because of the way you voted. So that's how I feel.
And how about an American?
Yeah.
How about immoral?
Yeah.
Well, I have another question before you cut me off.
Sure.
Is it
We won't cut you.
is it possible that we cannot come to be equal in society as it is today?
Which people become equal?
The niggas and people like me and other people who are saved and get what I'm saying.
I think I'll just say it throughout history, in all of humankind, there's always been an imbalance, and to have those people understand what we're talking about compassion and empathy and Christianity and goodwill and civil rights and people's rights and workers' rights, to have those people try to understand what Brian and myself are talking about, that's a good thing to hope for. But throughout history, human beings just have not operated that way.
I agree with you. Going back to the YouTube super chat, the number to call, by the way, is 702-221-7283 if you want to be a part of the program. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Leonard, I think we have some more super
It looks
chats.
like Lady Di or Lady D. She says, before midterms, double check your registration at BOE. Bondi wants to purge Democrats off the rolls, and when you go to vote, you won't be able to. I think that's 100% right.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the plans, but I think they're going to wait till the last minute. So you may have to re-register. Also, Trump changed the rules at the post office and says that if your mail-in ballot is not there on time, it doesn't matter if you postmarked it. It has to arrive. And he hasn't done that yet, but he's thinking about creating an executive order, which would make it harder to get the mail-in votes.
We'll have to wait and see. It's amazing to me that you could take a dumb 23-year-old kid in Nick Shirley, just knocking on doors and thinking that he can just barge his way into an adult daycare center and film children. But yet everybody on the right think that Don Lemon should be in jail. Let me be very clear.
That's ridiculous.
Don Lemon ain't going to jail. Worst case scenario, and I don't even think this is going to happen, maybe you can get him and cite him for trespassing.
I don't see how.
He was not a part of the FACE Act. He was not protesting. All he did was he was in church and he took out his cell phone and started recording. That is not against
Do you
the
think
law.
Jason will call in again? Because I would like to talk to Jason about his position, because he feels that it was inappropriate. It's a public place. Doors are open. People can come in and out. And they were there because the pastor was an ICE agent.
So
that's why
listen,
they were protesting.
This is obviously the DOJ being politicized, but let me be very clear on this. I've been pretty consistent on my opinion over the last few days as if you're going to protest, I do not believe a private business or a church or synagogue or any religious sanctuary is the appropriate place to be at. I'm not even suggesting that I think you deserve to go to jail, but I think there are better places and more appropriate places that you can protest rather than a religious sanctuary. Now, it is private property. So if you walk into a restaurant and you start protesting, the owners of the restaurant or employees can ask you to leave. If you don't leave, you can be 86th from the property and you could be trespassed. The false narrative being put forth. And by the way, how shocking, ladies and gentlemen, that the far MAGA right and idiots like Matt Walsh want a gay black man to go to jail. But when an ICE officer, in my opinion, commits murder, they don't even want an investigation. But they want Don Lemon to go to jail because all he simply did in a church is took out his cell phone and started recording. If that was a punishable offense, then millions of Americans tomorrow would be arrested, but it's not.
Well, in a church, they can ask him to leave. But what's the criminal charge? I don't get the trespass.
And I don't
No one
care.
asked him to leave. No one said
Yeah.
you're trespassing. You have
Right.
to leave.
Right. So I don't care whether the pastor is a member of ICE or not. It wouldn't surprise
Well,
me.
yesterday, Jason tried to say it was that they're, it's a church and it's a sanctuary and people cannot come in there and do that. That's not correct. A church is an open place until you know better.
Right. Nobody barged in. Right.
And by the way, not
of
to go
course.
into the Bible too deeply, but
Yeah.
Christ said that church is when two or more gather in my name. He didn't say anything about a building with doors and
Yeah.
people and trespass. He didn't say anything about
the right-wing hypocrisy. If a church service, if the old holy church service is interrupted, to them it's worse than January 6th. I mean, that's who these people are. They're despicable. Let's go to Alex, 702-221-7283. Hello, Alex.
Hey, Brian, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I really enjoy the show, and I wanted to comment on the comparison between Renee Good and Ashley Babbitt on J6.
Yep.
Yeah, in my opinion, there's no comparison. You know, Ashley Babbitt was impeding the certification of a federal election.
Correct.
Inside of a federal building. She was going at someone with a weapon pointed at her. She was crawling over people, over windows, trying to go at Congress members. And people trying to compare her to Renee Good, who was just exercising her First Amendment right to protest. So I just find the comparison silly, absolutely just ridiculous and uncalled for. It really gets under my skin for people to make that comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even close in my mind.
Yeah, it's not close, but the reason why I bring it up is to use their hypocrisy, right? There was an investigation, an internal investigation into the Ashley Babbitt shooting. Weeks. It took a while, and they
I remember it being several months.
It was
took
probably
a
longer
while before we got an answer. on that.
and they investigated it thoroughly, and they found that it was justified. But MAGA have a problem with that. They won't even do that with this shooting of Renee Good. I mean, it's insane, and the hypocrisy is unbelievable. Oh, I didn't agree with that investigation. Well, at least there was an investigation.
But Ashley Babbitt penetrated the last line of defense.
Right.
They had already broken in the front door. They had already broken in windows. They had already crushed police officers that were trying to keep them back.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, like I said before, the chamber was directly behind the Secret Service officer, and there were legislators in the chamber. There was nowhere else to back up to. There was nowhere to go.
Leonard, do you think there's going to be a situation in Minneapolis where local law enforcement are going to be battling ICE? Do you think that could happen?
They told them to stand down and stand by the local police. And like I said, in my mind, when I was a police officer, it was very clear that I can defend myself. I can defend other people, especially when severe bodily harm or death is imminent.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to get, I think you're asking, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. And violence is going to be a part of it.
Go ahead, sir, if you had anything else to add before we move on.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's completely possible. And Brian, I just want to clear up. I know you're bringing it up because this is a common talking point that the right brings up, and I know you're not giving it any validity when you bring it up. I know you're just bringing up what a righty would say.
Of course.
So I'm not.
No, I understand.
condemning-
No,
I'm
I
not
get
upset
it.
with
I
you
get
bringing
it.
up.
I get it. I totally get.
No,
where
you
you're-
want to talk about the comparison.
Totally
That's
get.
fine.
Totally get where you're coming from, my friend, and I do appreciate.
Thanks for the
your-
call,
your
Alex.
phone call. Yeah, I bring it up for the hypocrisy, and to any of the Bible thumpers out there that are so upset. The Bible thumpers are so upset that their all holy church service was interrupted, but they don't seem to be very upset at children being gassed in their cars. They don't seem to be upset at that. They don't seem to be upset about brown people and the way they're treated in this country, particularly when it comes
They're
to
not
ICE.
upset about
Yeah.
taking the food from the poor.
Yeah. Guess what?
And the elderly.
The children that were in that church when church was interrupted, they can go back to church with their family next week. But Renee Good's kids are growing up without a mother now. So screw you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Larry. Larry is next on PTL. Hi, Larry.
Well, it's an honor to talk to you, and Leonard too. You guys do a
Thanks,
great
Leonard.
job with educating the
Thank you.
public, and it's just gotten to a point where it's mind blowing, with how our leaders are leading our country. But I think, on a positive note, that the rest of the world is looking at us going, "There's something wrong with this guy, that the president of the United States of America."
Yeah.
And they're finally starting to see through it. I love what. Kind of playing with the same playbook what Newsom's doing, and just flooding the social media and getting the word out there, and other people on the other side and the right are finally going, come on, Donald, you're going way. He doesn't, the thing was about Greenland. He's just like, we have to own it in order to protect it. It's just I don't get it.
I don't get it either, other than, I like the word tariffs. I'd like to take over Greenland because I'm a bully. This guy is so clueless. He does have some intention, certainly when it came to Venezuela. It was all about oil and money and appeasing his very wealthy oil donors. But so sometimes he does have some rhyme or reason, even though it might be criminal, of doing specific things. But yeah, in this situation, he can't even differentiate the difference between Iceland and Greenland.
He threatened tariffs on the European Union.
Yeah.
So if he puts tariffs on them, guess who pays that? So he threatened taxes on the American
It's
people
insane.
because he was upset with Europe because they wouldn't give up Greenland.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
That is absolutely bonkers
insane.
in my mind.
Larry, I do appreciate your phone call, sir, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate you. Let's go to Shelly. Shelly is next up on PTL. What's up, Shelly?
Hey, Brian and Leonard, how you
Shelley.
doing?
Good.
How you feeling?
I'm okay. It's been a bad month.
Well, thanks for calling.
Did you hear do you know who Texas Paul is?
Texas
Paul? No, I don't.
Texas Paul.
I don't.
Well, he does a podcast, and he was really upset because there was a man and his little 6-year-old daughter walk into the store.
Yeah.
And a van pulled up, threw him in the van, and left the 6-year-old daughter on the street.
Shelly, here's my promise to you, okay? Because we're running up against the clock here. I'm going to look into this Texas Paul story.
Schroeder's his last name.
I'd like you to please call.
Texas Paul Schroeder. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, I would like you to please call into the show tomorrow. And what I want to do is I want to have this conversation with you when we have a little bit more information. So, Shelly, that's my promise to you. I'm going to look into this. Call back tomorrow so we could have a little bit more time.
People
Shelly,
in
let's
the
go to Glenn.
room are saying it's Schroeder's.
Glenn is next up on PTL. Hi, Glenn. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
What's up, Glenn?
I like your show.
Thank you.
Like your show.
Thank you.
Especially when it does with domestic. But a little bit off on the European thing. But that's okay because that's what we do.
How is it off on the European thing, Glenn? What do you mean exactly?
Well, I grew up in Europe on base.
Okay.
I graduated on base in high school there in Heidelberg in Germany. And during the Cold War, when there was East Germany and West Germany, and I went to German school for a while when my dad retired, and because he had a little mental problem.
So how I don't understand how does that relate to what we're talking about? The European nations had to put military in Greenland to protect because Donald Trump pissed everyone off by telling them that he was going to attack Greenland, and now the news is reporting that he's not even going to do the tariffs. So he upset the whole world order, threatening people to try to negotiate, and now he had to take it all back. He looks like a little scared baby to me.
Maybe you can call up tomorrow, my friend. Maybe you misspoke, but you said we were wrong about something, which is fine. You can have those.
He said the
opinions,
European thing, and I don't know what he means.
Well, call back tomorrow when we have a little bit more time. Let's try to get one more call here. Let's go to Randy. Randy's next. Hello, Randy.
Hi, guys. Great job again, Brian. This is the second time I've called into your show. I'm
Thank you.
fairly new, but I do want to make a point here. I did a lot of behavior work in my time in my younger years, and where do we learn from? We learn from our parents. We learn from our peers. We learn from those people that we put into power. All of these MAGA foolish people, where are they getting the lead from? Their hero, the Orange Man. What does he do? He lies. He never tells the truth. They have adopted this. Oh, if he can do it, he's our leader, then we can do it. That's why all these people call in and they get away with saying whatever they want, however they want, because Donald does it. It must be all right. And it's just crazy. Sometimes I'll turn the station. You always got to check in on the enemy. I watch the Newsmax, the OAN, the Fox News.
I want to barf.
I look at the screen. I'm like, oh my God, you're just like your daddy. The orange daddy is coming out in all of you.
All those news organizations, or that's alleged news organizations.
The cult.
Let me be very clear. They're the cuck Republican clan. That's what they are. Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, all these right-wing entities, they are the cuck Donald Trump cult. That is what they are. My friend, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you so much. Running up against the clock here at the end of the show. Do we have any YouTube super chats? Leonard, we got another one if you want to read it.
Put it up for me because
Numchuck's putting it up right now for you, and we'll read one more and then talk.
John Damon says, when questioning Caroline L, meaning Caroline Levitt, I guess.
Yeah.
Ask her question, and when she starts to talk, tell her to shut up, piggy, and I'm not done. Shut up. I give it back to them. You know what? That's your feelings, John. I don't do stuff like that.
I do.
I'm not going to call a female reporter a piggy.
I think, hey, everybody, Caroline's husband, happy birthday to him. He turned 103 today. So happy birthday, Mr. Levitt. Happy birthday. He turned 103 today. I've got a package of blue pills that are coming your way as a birthday present. If Caroline Levitt was my wife, I would probably need those blue pills as well. And thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
of course.
it.
This has been a lot of fun. So tomorrow on the show, obviously, we know the Jack Smith public testimony is going to be huge news. So we are going to be covering that ad nauseum in length, right? It might still be going on.
I think Republicans are going to regret it.
Yeah. Also, tomorrow, I have a scheduled debate / conversation with somebody who certainly leans to the right. He has a very popular YouTube page and social media. His name's Warren Smith. He came on the show a few months ago, and all these dozens of people on YouTube were analyzing our debate because we had a full-on debate about Donald Trump.
Cool.
We're going to be talking about ICE tomorrow. Leonard, I appreciate you being here, especially during these times when the topics are.
It went by quick.
It always goes by fast with you. Ask Stormy Daniels. It went by quick for her too. It just conversations about law enforcement and proper protocols. You're the perfect person to talk about this stuff. So I certainly appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you.
Regards to your beautiful wife for me. And we will catch up with you, of course, next week on the show. Nicole Mitchell is going to be joining us tomorrow, hour number 2 as well.
Okay.
Nicole Mitchell's in town, the OnlyFans model, former pastor turned life coach.
Oh, she's in studio?
Yeah, she's going to be in studio tomorrow. She's in town. So Nicole's going to be here as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be going over Jack Smith and what's transpiring tomorrow as well. Thanks for being here, Leonard. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn?